South Sudan.
The Dawn on iRadio.
A very good morning to you and welcome to another edition of the Dawn program on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan. It's Friday, the 26th of September 2025. My name is Emmanuel J Akile with the one Moses who's behind the social media coverage. I'll be right here in the studio with you on the show from now up to 8 a.m. Well, thank you for starting your day with the Dawn program with us on iRadio every weekday from 6 to 8. To comment on any story that will be featuring on today's edition of the Dawn, do not hesitate. You can later on dial 0911 or 22986 A text message on 13986 You can also stream this broadcast live by logging onto our website, iRadio.org. Follow us on Facebook and X at iRadio Juba. And do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, iRadio South Sudan. صباح الخير مستمعي راديو، أهلا ومرحبا بك في حلقة جديدة من برنامج الدون. الليلة يوم الجمعة الموافق 26/9/2025. البرنامج بيجيك في يوم الأسبوع من الساعة 6 ل 8. شارك معنا بعدين بالاتصال لأرقامنا ورسل لنا رسالة نصية. تابعونا على الإنترنت على الموقع iRadio.org، على الفيسبوك وإكس على iRadio جوبا، ومعنا تتابعونا على يوتيوب شانل iRadio South Sudan. نمشي لفاصل ومنه حنبدأ بفقرة بتاع ريزيدنس ريبورت.
The Dawn Show, first hour, is sponsored by PML. Good morning, South Sudan. You are listening to The Dawn Show. The first hour is proudly brought to you by PML. Together we rise.
iRadio, your eye on South Sudan. iRadio, your eye on South Sudan. iRadio.
مرحبا بك مرة ثانية. هلو راديو. صباح النور.
برافو في مدينة واو.
معنا منو؟
برافو في مدينة واو.
برافو، اتفضل.
أنا بسلم مستمعين وبسلم أنتوا في هاي راديو، وعنينا حسبانا بخير في واو، ما في هواء جو بارد. عنينا ماشيين مزارع تانا، وبجد أنا بس أنا عندي رسالة واحد بس أنا داير أقول للحكومة، لأن في تجاه وسط بارك زالنا يعني كلام الزراعة ماشي كويس للناس، ولا دائما في حاجه انا الحكومه قاعد بعملها، الحكومه قاعد تجيب حاجات زراعيه وحاجات بمشي ما بوصل للمزارعين. انا ما اعرف المشكله ده من شنو. حاجات بوصل ل 30 كاس، 30 ديل قالوا من ما بيجي بوصل حاجات للناس، وكل ما في واو يعني في ناس وزاره الزراعه في مشروع كان قاعد بعمله يعني بتتصل مع مزارعين، وكلام من في 2016 او في 2015 بجد لا حتى الان الوزاره الزراعه بتاع مدينه واو يعني ما طلب من المزارعين، وانا شايف يعني خطوه ده وكنت تشجع المزارعين ممكن يعني بقلل الشروط بقلل الاسعار وتيجي تعلن المزارع حاجات ينتج الاكل في الولايه، كل حاجات كان قاعد باكل هو في دوله جنوب السودان او في واو، ولكن حاجات كذا ما في. انا بنشر وزاره الزراعه لازم يشوف الكلام في المزارعين، لانه لو انت ما بتشجع زول انت لازم وكل ما عندك شفافيه كلام الزراعيه، ولازم اكون في مدينه واو لازم يعملوا مشاريع في المزارع، لانه وزاره الزراعه واو انا شايف ما عنده اي حاجه، بيقولوا وزاره الزراعه هو فله في دوله، والزراعه بتعمل ليه هم قاعد يزرع وين؟ هل قروج الحكومه قاعد يطلعوا ده؟ هم قاعد يدخلوا وين؟ بيدخلوا في الجو ولا هم قاعد يدخلوا وين؟ انا مين السرين عارف في مدينه واو هنا ده هو في وزاره الزراعه واو، انا داير نشوف المزارع بتاعهم ده قاعد وين؟ انا بنفسي انا داير نشوف مزارع بتاع وزاره الزراعه واو ده قاعد وين؟ شكرا لكم.
شكرا. نقطة مهمة، وزارة الزراعة ما شغال شغل بتاعه في ولاية غربي بحر الغزال. راديو.
من الجزء كيف؟
نعم.
نمبر 2 I supposed to be number 1 لكن تليفون قدر بس. اوكي، تحية لكل المستمعين بالسنة بتاع اي راديو، خاصة الناس اللي بيتصل تليفونات وهذا الزيادة بتاع هو طبعا ابو جاس، وهناك طبعا كوني ناس في لغوية بس انجذب بكين قال ما جي سليمون، لكن انا جي سليمون هو ما جي سليمون. سلام بتاعك هناك يا سلطان، انت سلطان بتاعنا انت لازم تسلم الناس يا سلطان. كمان سلام بمشي هناك مباشر لماما ميري، انا ما اعرف من دوين، ماما بوني برضه اختفى، بيجي ماجوك، استاذ ماجوك، كوتشوك هناك في بي او سي، وكل المستمعين بتاعنا بتاع اي راديو، وبالذات ناس كمان قاعدين يرسل رسائل. اكيد انا اقدر نشكر الرئيس الكيني يعني الرئيس بتاع كينيا امبارح قدم كتاب تاريخي للسالة بتاع افريقيا كله، يعني يظل مثلنا كله في الجمعية العمومية بتاع
او الامبارح
يعني كان كلمات مهم وكلمات حساسة بما يخص افريقيا. التمثيل بتاعنا في مجلس الامن الدولي والتمثيل بتاعنا برضه في حق الفيتو، احنا لازم نكون عندنا ناس اللي بيمثلنا كافريقيا في مجلس الامن الدولي بجد. يعني 54 يعني الدولة ما بنكون عندنا نزول بيمثلنا هناك، وكلامه ده كلام حساس جدا جدا. يعني ده يعني المتحدة هذا عنده ظلم، لأنه لما نقول المتحدة إنت ببدأ فرق ناس تانيين بيكونوا ماشيين في محل حساسة زي مثلا مجلس الأمن الدولي وتسيد بتحكي الفيتو ده، معناه في ظلم في محلنا. فالكتاب بتاع الرئيس بتاع كينيا ده أنا مرتاح منه شديد، ومبارك جبت صوته في أي راديو، ودي حاجة القادة بتاعنا من المفترض يعمل. هو قاعد يتكلم كلام ما بتشوف في ورق، بيتكلم كلام من راسه بس، يعني كلام كله منطق. ده واحد. اثنين يا أكيله برضه أنا أقدر أتكلم حاجة بسيطة عن السنون بتاعنا الذاكرة. يومين ده أنت اللي شفت يا أكيله في كروكات أمنية ماشي على مستوى بتاع ساعة السودان. سنين أبينا أمباري في مشاكل في كوبيتا، تخيل في مشاكل في منذر هناك في كتبي ولو أنت تقريبا كده كتيبة، وفي مشاكل تجاه بتاع جاي هناك كيجي، في مشاكل تجاه بتاع ناصر. يا جماعة بلد ده خلاص رايح في حرب. ده سبب أننا يوم قلنا كورك يا أكيله حكومة بكابة أننا بلد ده في مشاكل أننا بنفي السلام، لكن إذا لو شفت في الواقع في مشكلة هسه ماشي في بلد ده، وفي مشكلة بوري بين السلام ده عدين انحار عدين بعدين اسمه آيو ده ظاهر كانوا قسم على الاثنين. يعني هسه أنا ما أعرفه منيا كنترول بتاع اسمه ده آيو ومنيا كنترول بتاع حكومة، لأنه هسه على أرض الواقع يا أخوي مشاكل ما في، والشعب بتاعنا في معاناة. عشان كده أنا قدرنا نتكلم يا الرئيس بتاعنا سلفكير إنت عندك وعدنا وعد جميل جدا جدا بأنه إذا ما بترجع بلد ده في حرب، لو أنت ما بترجع بلد ده في حرب، لو ده قادة الميدانيين يا قاعدين يعملوا الكروكات ده أديهم تعليمات اللي يوقف مشاكل اللي فورا، لأنه كان بقى وصلنا في مرحلة بأنه بقى فيه هجوم على مدن معناه إحنا ماشيين في طريق مجهول. ده اللي كان رسالة بتاع الحكومة.
شكرا لك سليمان. Radio.
Good morning, Emmanuel J. Akile.
Yes, good morning.
Young Sudan from Tungping.
Welcome.
Thank you. We don't have any problem here. Everybody is now preparing to go to their different duties. Let me start by sending my greeting to Sultan Joseph, Professor Dengaur Wenyi, Mama Maria, David Magog, Ustaz Mijogian, Kachok, POC, Banjang, Khatra, all the regular callers and viewers of the iRadio. What I just need to say this morning is the issue of the salary payment, which is always become a paperwork from the Ministry of Finance. You see, when they announced this last month, announced when I personally went to where I opened my bank account, I did not receive any single coin up to date. There is no money. When you go there, they refuse. They are not giving us money because the ministry or the central bank is not giving them cash. You just go and receive the cash that is being deposited by the other customers of the bank, and then the central bank just send cashless. So for them, they are saying we need a lot of money from the government, and the government is now making us bankrupt. We are not even getting anything from the government. They have just brought my names. They instruct you to open the bank account, but they are not giving us our money. So this is a very big issue. Why are they sending people to go and take another people's money and they don't pay them? And now they are just releasing checks without cash every month. This is a fraud in law. It is a crime itself. It should not be done like that. If they fail completely, not to pay people, let them just say it without sending people to a place where you look like a stranger, others see you like a beggar. I don't understand. What is that? So I want this this payment mechanism, these people, if they don't pay completely, let them stop it. Like others who are now having some months, they did not get their money. Thank you.
All right, thank you. نقطة مهمة من جنوب السودان موضوع قروش ما في البنوك. راديو. هلو راديو. مرجع تاني واتصل علينا 19 دقيقة بعد الساعة 6. راديو.
هلو راديو.
نعم.
جزء إيمانويل أكيلي.
سلطان جوزيف.
والله إيمانويل أكيلي in my area no problem. خلينا هاي كل الزول الزول الأول لحد زول الجامعة عشان مجيهم كان بتاعنا كبير. إيمانويل أكيلي. ومبارنا وانا الكلام بتاع القروش ده. الليلة أنا بقيل شوية وانا بكوش الأعداد المواسم دائما المواسم في الجنوب ده. إيمانويل كلام أنا قاعد نقول الكلام بتاع الكوميونتي دائما بصير فرصة للناس اللي بكرة بلدهم ده. ليش شنو؟ انت كوميونتي الموجود هناك ده هسه ده ياهو يا اللي بتاعك مجعجعين في مطر، ياهو انتوا مجعجعين في غابات من وسط الناس اللي انتوا سلاح. نظامكم شنو؟ انتم زي ده يا كوميونتي بتاع المندري ايست انتم قاعد تشوفوا تحركات من ايوه ولا اياتو ولا الناس ولا ياتو ده. انتوا مناكم بتعملوا ساكم اما تجري مع الامان اما تجري وين؟ ما ممكن الليله دي انتوا تسيبوا وبعد ده ولادنا. شوف في حاجه انتوا التمر ده ما بعرف ده ولادنا. دائما انت كوميونتي كان سلاطين كان ياتو تشوفوا تحركات انتوا جديد نسايا يا ولادنا. الكلام ده ما بنسألنا بعدين بيضرنا كمواطنين. انت زول شال السلاده ولا ده ما زولك كان تاخوبا كان ياتو من الحكومه طبعا منظم يعني بيفرق من زول الثقافه طبعا انا هو منظم يعني قانون يعميه، لكن الثقافه ده القانون ما عنده، ما هو ده الكلام بس لا بعرف مواطن ولا بعرف اسال ولا بعرف حتى اليورمي ده ذاته ما بعرفينه. عشان كده يا كوميونتي هنا عملي تاكم ده جري لشنو؟ عشان كده دائما نقول يا جماعه العلاقات بتمر دائما في الجنوب ده رجع الجنوب ورا. الناس ما يبررهم. دول بعمل خرابه يقتل في الناس يشرب في الناس. بعد شويه هو بمشي له اقول له تعالي انا بعمل معاك اتفاقيه. من ما عمل اتفاقيه معكم ما يجي دول كثير بنساكم نهائيا. دول انتم الناس يقولوا ده الناس انت اسمع كلام ما ممكن. أنا لا شيء مثلا بتجرب كله كلام ده أي مال في 10 ولا 13 إدارية كان ده يعمل حسابهم يا جماعة ما كويس. خلينا نشوف شغلهم وين، خلينا نشوف مستقبل بتاعهم وين. لا ما يجري وراء ده ما الناس القرابة ما خلينا يكون في سلام. شكرا جزيلا.
شكرا لك. ناس يكونوا في السلام. رسالة من سلطان جوزيف. راديو.
الو يا رجل انا اكيل صباح الخير.
صباح النور.
بنحييك في الاستديو وبنحيي كل المستمعين. انا بس داير بس اقدم رساله يا اخوان.
عرف نفسك.
معاك جد ومعاك
مواصل.
انا بقدر اقدم رساله بس لاخوان المتصلين في صوت الصباح. انت بس لو حكيت بس حكيت بس المكالمه طوالي رفع تليفونك بس ما تعلمتنا في كلام كثير بس سلوا على المستمعين وعلى المتصلين بس ما تاخذ في الموضوع بتاع طوال لانه الزمن ما في زمن قصير شديد والله اننا فرص كثير ان نتكلم لكن الزمن بتمشي ما بنقول كلام غير نقوله. طيب انا اقول في موضوع طوالي ايمانويل اكيل عندنا في هنا قبل اليوم حاكمنا السابق اللي هو ايمانويل بريمو طبعا يقول الرصيد الحاكم ما قصر طلع قرار هنا عندنا ميادين بتاع كور هنا بالذات اويل شمال واو شمال في محل بقول اويل جديد ميدان اويل جديد ده وقف امتداد. السيد الحاكم ده طلع قرار بانه الميدان يرجع لشباب الرياضه. نعم الميدان قالوا رجع. في اشخاص هنا شغالين في الوزارات وفوهدين ذاته شغالين في اسواق هنا ودول رجال قانون. الزول ده من ما قالوا القرار طلع الزول طوالي بعد ثاني يوم طوالي ما شال مانجا وشال قشطه جزرة فوقه. شوف بعتنا هنا ساكنين جنب الميدان كوره قال لها ولدنا الشغل لما سيد الحاكم طلع قرار بانه الميدان ده خلاه رجل الشباب والرياضه.
اول هذه الكلمه اللي قالوا يا اخي انا ما شغال بقرار بتشديد الحاكم بتاعكم ده، والدولار قانون الدولار يحسبوا كيف يا جماعه؟ وانا مسؤول وانا قادر على المسؤوليه كلام ده يا اخوانا. الدولار اذا قلت لي نودي لكم والله انا دولار بوصل لكم، لانه دولار دار يخرب لنا هلتنا هنا. ما يكون هو واحد هنا كله بقى ما في. انا رسالتي بمشي لزيد الحاكم، حاكم الجديد اللي هو شريف داني شريف. الشريف داني شريف كده أبطينا قبل للشباب. الشباب دول لو ما جيت رجعت لنا الميدان حقتنا ده، الشباب دول بتمرضوا في هنا أدير كده. بقول لك نحن بعد الحكومة كله قفل لنا ميادين. الحكومة ما أدانا محل راحتنا، نعمل شنو؟ ما في شغل. كويس؟ الشباب دول مش وين؟ بكرة بعد بكرة بتلقى الشباب دول قالوا يتمرضوا، بيجوا تراب بيجوا تورنتو في هلا. ده ما موجود شنو؟ موجود ما في. حتى الجنوب ده كله ما فوق ميادين. الحمد لله بس واو شمال لا في شيء ميادين. سيد الحاكم خلي بالك، لانه كده ادينا فرصه. على الاقل بس في باقي الاوراق لسه قاعد في المكتب هناك، في مكتبك هناك، على الاقل بس انظر فوقه. لو ما نظرت فوقه هيكون كأمانه، والله هيكون كأمانه مع الجيل بتاعنا ذاته. نحن ما انتهينا خلاص، لكن اجيالنا الصغار جايين دول بنتهوا. لازم تخلي بالك في الكلام ده. وانا متاكد في ناس معارضين هناك في المكتب، في ناس معارضين في السلطه هنا في الولايه هنا. ما ده الشباب ده يمشوا قدام كلهم يتقدموا، لكن نتمنى منك انت زي ما قلت جاي تشتغل للشباب وشابات عليك اللغات كده انظر لنا برضه. بالذات الميادين اللي بقى ما في ده. بقول هسه بكره بعد بكره لما تطلع في الشارع تشوف شباب قاعدين بلا بكره في شوارع، مواطن ماشي، عربات ماشي. طيب عشان دول لو جاي يتقتل بكره البقيت ما منو وتقول سبب يا حكومه يا بتطلب ميادين للناس، حكومه ثانيه او بيجي ميادين للمواطنين وللناس المسؤولين. بقول لما تم تقول زول عبقري زول زي هذا زول ربما بتاعته ما كبير، لكن كده هسه حددنا خلاص بان زول انا ما شغال بقرار بسيد نقول الكلام ده. وحكومه المهم انت جيت لو ربنا ساعدنا لقينا فرصه وصلنا لنا باب، لو خشنا نلاقي في المكتب هناك في كلام كثير نقولوا لك هناك، لكن نتمنى بس خليهم يفتحوا لنا باب نخش لك هناك تسوي لنا كثير وكثير.
شكرا جزيلا جدا. نقطة مهم جدا، وده التحدي برضه اللي قاعد يواجه شباب هنا في العاصمة جوبا. ميادين قاعدين يقلبوا يكون أماكن بتاع سكن يقسموا للناس، وده ما حاجة صح. ده في النهاية هيأثر في الجيل القادم، الجيل المستقبلي، لأنه ده هو قاعد بيرفع سمعة بتاع جنوب السودان الرياضة، زي ما احنا شفنا كرة بتاع السلة أو الباسكت بول. لما نقفل كل الميادين ونبيعه للناس، العيال أو الأطفال أو الشباب مهارات بتاعهم هم حيقدموا وين، وهم حيقدر يعملوا تمارين بتاعهم وين عشان بكرة بعد بكرة يواصلوا ويرفعوا علم بتاع جنوب السودان. العاصمة جوبا يزول داير يكون قاعد في قريب مع في جوبا، بس يعني مع انه جوبا واسع وكبير، لكن يزول داير يقعد قريب، ما داير يكون قاعد بعيد، وده ما حاجة صح. في النهاية برجع للحكومة برضه عشان يوفر الخدمات في الأماكن البعيدة عشان الناس تقدر تمشي في الأماكن ديل. نمشي لفاصل ونرجع.
From the heart of South Sudan's rich soil comes a name of pride. Prestige Millers Limited, a beacon of progress, offering quality and affordable products, restoring food dignity, one family at a time. Now say hello to Haiba fortified maize flour, wheat flour and sorghum flour. The flour of strength, honor and presence, and rich with essential vitamins and minerals. Haiba gives every meal the power to fuel energy, health and growth. Whether it's a cedar, kisra or porridge, Haiba guarantees the same delicious taste and unmatched quality every single time. Available in every size you need. 1 kg, 2 kg, 5 kg, 10 kg, 25 kg and 50 kg. 100% locally milled. With Haiba, we don't just eat, we rise together as a nation. For details, call the hotline support service +211 924 922 323 or email sales@prestigemillersltd.com. Prestige Millers Limited. Together, we rise.
Okay, the bill is here. Oh, I don't have enough money on my Momo account, but hold on.
did you do that?
Yeah, I took more money from my bank account.
I have been in this situation many times.
Mata Fekir, use Momo.
Mata Fekir kalam gurush katir vijay. Wala takafu min arami. Mata Fekir galita kan bida fakir. Register and use Momo. Everywhere you go, use Momo.
Just dial *200#.
For too long, the echoes of conflict have scarred our land, tearing the very fabric of our communities. Years of war tore our nation and broke our soul. Where is the promise? South Sudan, a nation born from hope, shaped by resilience, now calls us to a new song, a song of peace, harmony and forgiveness. Let go of anger and hate. Open your hearts. Every tribe, every clan, join the effort. The same spirit that united us at independence still lives within us. It is time to mend what was broken, to forgive what was done, and to embrace our shared identity as South Sudanese. Today, let us choose a different path. Unity over division, healing over hurt, and understanding over anger. From every village and town, let peace and unity be renowned. Every individual, every community has a vital role to play. Let us reject the divisions of the past and work together for a future where peace is not just a dream, but our lived reality. Forgiveness is our strength. Harmony is our path. And a rebuilt nation is our promise. This message is brought to you by TFN and the Central Equatorial State Ministry of Peace Building.
راديو لأخبار الموزون اللي تكون بيتم فوقه من كل جنوب السودان ومن برا جنوب السودان. أسمع تكون لأي راديو أنا تكون في جنوب السودان.
Start your day with the Dawn Show, powered by PML. Together we rise. The Dawn Show, your morning companion. First hour proudly sponsored by PML. Together we rise.
This is the Dawn Show on iRadio. Wake up, get information, get education, get everything that you need on iRadio.
مرحبا بك مرة ثانية مستمع راديو بغشية عناوين الأخبار. راديو
صباح خير. جود مورنينج Emmanuel J Akile.
نعم صباح النور باتيستا تفضل.
باتيستا رمانا من قرية الخضراء. سلام لتعيلة وسلام لأصدقاء برنامج الزون الصباحي كله، وسلام لتعيلة كل الأصدقاء اللي بيسموا في زمن بتاع حسي وكل المستمعين. أصبحنا في قرية كويسين ما في عوجة. نتمنى هنا جدا يكون جمعة سعيدة لكل الناس وربنا يرزق كل زول بتأكيد يجيبوا للبيت. شكرا.
اوكي شكرا لك. راديو
Emmanuel J Akile.
نعم.
صباح الخير بابا.
منو معنا؟
معاك وانا ميروكو.
نعم بكل اختصار. امشي بعيد من الراديو بتاعك شوية واني.
هي لك في الاستديو فهي انا مسؤولين اي راديو. بس الموضوع ده رسالة كروه موضوع بسيط وسهل. المادة اللي كان موضوع ده اتكلم يا هو موضوع انا بتاع راديو في البلد ده. الموضوع ده بقى امبان شديد لدرجة ان انا ما اعرف. انا ما اعرف ولا هو مسؤول.
الموضوع أراضي؟ يا راجل شبكتك انقطع هناك. راديو
السلام.
راديو alright برضو فقدناك في الخط. نمشي لعناوين الأخبار.
This is iRadio.
The iRadio.
Your eye on South Sudan.
Right, it's time for news headlines and joined live by Lasuba Memo. Good morning, Lasuba. Give us the headlines.
Good morning, Emmanuel Joseph Akile. Vice President Josephine Laguez briefed the United Nations General Assembly while he expressed the government's commitment to holding elections in 2026 while enhancing transparency and accountability in resource management in a 10-year development plan. The executive director of the Justice and Human Rights Observatory says he has filed a police case in Nimule against 5 members of the military intelligence accused of kidnapping the organization's focal present in the town yesterday. And Ethiopia, Rana Shewaj Alain has died aged 30. The organizer of the Stockholm Marathon has confirmed. This and many more.
Thank you للسوبر من الأخبار. خليك قريب نلقى التفاصيل في رأس الساعة. Welcome back from the break. You're still listening to the Dawn program. Now let's cross to New York, where the 80th United Nations General Assembly is currently underway. Now this year's theme is Better Together, 80 Years and Beyond for Peace, Development and Human Rights. Yesterday, the Vice President for the Service Cluster, Josephine Joseph Logu, delivered a 30-minute address on behalf of South Sudan. In her speech, she called for sanctions relief, national unity and sustainable development. Lag also highlighted the country's progress on peace implementation, emphasized key issues including agriculture, education, and the 35% affirmative action policy, among other national priorities. Let's listen to her speech.
The theme of this year's session, Better Together, 80 Years and More, for Peace, Development and Human Rights, resonates with the objectives and aspirations of our country. South Sudan is the youngest country in the world and the 193rd member of the United Nations. After 50 years of brutal armed liberation struggle, it gained independence in 2011. Unfortunately, 2 years later, the country descended into an internal civil war. With the support of regional and international community, a peace agreement was signed between the warring parties in 2018, known as the Revitalized Agreement for the Resolution of the Conflict in South Sudan. This led to the formation of the current Revitalized Transitional Government of National Unity, a coalition government comprising the warring parties, other peace partners, and stakeholders. The peace agreement has provisions on governance structure, security sector reforms, transitional justice mechanism, economic sector reforms, and Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The agreement also stipulates 35% affirmative action on women representation at the national, state, as well as local government levels. The presidency consists of a president and 5 vice presidents, 2 of whom are female, thus achieving 40% of female representation at the highest level of government. In the first phase, the unified forces have been trained, some of the forces have been deployed, and the rest are waiting deployment. The second phase of the security sector reforms is due to start imminently this October 2025. This will complete the second phase of the second protocol of the agreement. Other protocols, including public finance management reforms, are ongoing. Transitional justice mechanisms are in progress, and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission will be established under the auspices of the African Union. Although the implementation of the peace agreement has been slower than we would have wanted due to financial constraints, some of the members of the international community have been contributing in kind. On the whole, the implementation of the peace agreement is about 60% executed. The agreement has held for 7 years, and a relative peace has been attained, thus giving hope to our people. Many South Sudanese have returned from the neighboring countries and the diaspora and are rebuilding their lives and contributing to national development. Work is ongoing, including preparations for general elections in December 2026. Until recently, the permanent cessation of hostilities was observed and relative peace attained throughout the country. Climate change and environmental sustainability. South Sudan is one of the countries adversely affected by the impact of climate change, despite contributing minimally to global emissions. For the last 5 years, our country has suffered recurrent floods on the one hand and prolonged droughts on the other, thus contributing to crop failures, biodiversity loss, and mass displacement. These challenges intensify food insecurity, undermine livelihood support, and threaten social stability. In this regard, the government of the Republic of South Sudan calls on equitable and predictable climate financing to strengthen adaptation and resilience. The Paris Agreement and subsequent COP summits made commitments which must be honored. South Sudan requires support in technology transfer, capacity building, and foreign direct investment in national frameworks such as the South Sudan Development Plan, nationally determined contribution, and national adaptation plan. This support is essential to address the intertwined challenges of development and environmental stability. The global community cannot afford to ignore climate injustice. Collective action is imperative for these challenges which transcend national borders to be addressed effectively. South Sudan has embarked on planting of 100 million trees by 2030, expanding renewable energy generation and strengthening water infrastructure with women, youth, and people with disabilities at the center of these efforts. Our commitments to sustainable development goals. At independence, South Sudan inherited rudimentary state structures and hardly any infrastructures such as roads, electricity. We inherited poor health care, inadequate educational infrastructure, abject poverty, and food insecurity. The SDGs are aligned to our national priorities. For example, each vice president is in charge of a cluster which includes governance cluster, economic cluster, service delivery cluster, infrastructure cluster, and gender, youth, and humanitarian cluster. Madam President, the 2030 Agenda remains a vital framework for peace and prosperity. South Sudan has made some remarkable progress in agricultural transformation, including commercialization and value addition, which will create jobs for women and youth, including in crop production, livestock, and fisheries. This will enable people to produce their own food rather than relying on imported foods. Our policy is, let us produce what we eat. And as a consequence, some states in our country now are self-sufficient in food production, which contributes eminently to reduction of poverty, thus the attainment of SDG 1 and SDG 2. In collaboration with our development partners, government is providing health care, building health care infrastructure, improving maternal and child care, raising awareness about communicable diseases, and providing vaccinations for diseases such as cholera, mpox, and malaria. Access to clean water and sanitation is being improved. As part of the health sector transformation program, we aim to attain universal health care for all in South Sudan. The recent pandemic outbreaks around the world revealed the urgencies of strengthening health systems and equitable vaccine access. South Sudan advocates for global health framework that prioritizes preparedness for pandemics and embraces health as a universal human right. In his latest statement to Parliament in June 2025, His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit identified education as a key priority area for the government. There is improved enrollment in primary schools and secondary schools, and many young people are aspiring now to go to universities and colleges. Enrollment has risen from 300,000 to 2.1 million children, with gender parity in primary schools nearly achieved. This is a remarkable national achievement. There is focus on teacher education to improve the overall quality of education. Despite these efforts and achievements, 2.8 million of our children are still out of school. South Sudan has expanded programs to promote girls' enrollment and retention in schools while investing in technical and vocational skills training for women and youth. Our government would like to take this opportunity to appreciate all those countries that have offered scholarships for our young people to study in their countries, and those supporting girls' education in particular and vocational training to provide employable skills for our young people. But more clearly needs to be done. South Sudan is a young population. Over 60% of the population is under the age of 30 years. In any society, the youth are the future of the country and the future of the society. Our youth are a source of great pride. South Sudan's recent participation in the Olympics Games in Paris last year was a unifying moment for the people of South Sudan and Africa at large. South Sudan athletes showcased talent, discipline, and resilience, embodying the spirit of a nation determined to rise. Sports have become a powerful force for unity, inspiring hope, and bringing communities together across our young nation. The South Sudan basketball team emerged as the best team in the continent of Africa during the last Olympic Games and nearly beat the defending champion in the world. Since independence and in line with the Transitional Constitution 2011 as amended, we have taken steps to integrate gender equality into our governance and development agenda. Notably, South Sudan has enshrined 30% of women participation in public life at all levels of government. In addition to the two female vice presidents, our cabinet, the national cabinet, and state cabinets comprises of 30% of female representation. And our speaker, the speaker of the National Transitional Assembly, is also a female. We have adopted national gender policies to advance women's rights and are working to harmonize our laws with international commitments. Efforts have been made to address gender-based violence through new legislation and establishment of a special court. We have mainstreamed gender into the National Adaptation Plan and nationally determined contributions for climate change. We are committed to advancing women's economic empowerment by improving access to land rights and credit facilities while creating opportunities for women entrepreneurs. To achieve the SDGs, we must shift from commitments to action, emphasizing multilateral cooperation, fair trade, debt relief, and tailored support for fragile and conflict-affected states. South Sudan has been advocating for debt cancellation and the support of the international community to complement these efforts will be appreciated. Financing for development. Transforming aspiration into results require adequate financing. We urge developed nations to scale up contributions to the International Development Association, which plays a central role in protecting vulnerable populations, reducing poverty, and financing sustainable development in fragile states. South Sudan supports reforms of international financial institutions to enhance the representation of developing nations, ensuring that financing mechanisms align with objectives of development priorities. Together, we can build a more inclusive and just global financial system. internal peace and security. We acknowledge the delays in implementation of the revitalized peace agreement. However, the government has renewed its political will and is accelerating key benchmarks, including the deployment of the unified forces, electoral legislation, and launching of national civic education campaigns. His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit announced on several occasions that he will not take this country back to war. And this became a theme of our engagement to restore peace and stability in the country. We reaffirm our commitment to world peace and security. In South Sudan, peace and stability remain our highest priority. Since the 2018 revitalized peace agreement, government has been working to consolidate peace through implementation of the peace agreement, transformation of the governance system, and security sector reforms. Additionally, government is also engaged in promoting peace building at subnational and community levels using the principles of people-to-people peace initiatives. The civil society, women's group, youth group, and faith groups are all actively involved in peace building activities supported by UNIMIS, the United Nations mission in South Sudan, among others. The security sector reform is progressing well. In phase 1, the first batch of unified forces are already trained, as mentioned earlier. The second phase is ongoing. At the same level, the governments at state levels are disarming civilians to bolster security. The aim is to have one national army under one commander-in-chief, contrary to the current state of affairs where the country has several commanders-in-chief, which in itself is a source of insecurity. In general, there has been relative peace and security throughout the country, with the exception of the recent attack by the White Army militia associated with the first Vice President, Dr. Riek Machar, on South Sudan People's Defense Forces in Nasir, which led to his detention and the detention of the co-accused. This matter is now being handled legally, and it will take due process with assurance of a fair trial in a competent court. The government is committed to following due process to achieve justice in this matter. It should be noted that the arrest of the first Vice President, Dr. Riek Machar, and his co-accused was not politically motivated, but had endangered the peace process and constitutional order in the country. Notwithstanding the legal proceedings, Dr. Riek Machar and others have been formally charged and presented to court. Their legal rights have been respected, including granting access to their legal team and to appear on their behalf in court. South Sudan remains open to meaningful dialogue with other holdout groups. In this regard, the government is considering resumption of the Tumaini Peace Initiative and welcomes facilitation from regional and other partners. We urge regional and international communities to urge the holdout groups to renounce armed violence and engage in political dialogue. Furthermore, we appeal to the international community to continue supporting South Sudan's efforts and democratic process through provision of technical assistance, capacity building, and development support. It is worth mentioning that consolidating peace in South Sudan is not only vital for our people, but also for stability across the Horn of Africa, the Great Lakes, and beyond. Since our last statement to this General Assembly, South Sudan has embarked upon a transformative journey. We have launched the South Sudan Development Plan 2026 to 2036, a forward-looking 10-year blueprint to diversify our economy, fortify our institutions, and reduce reliance on oil. This plan is anchored in the principles of transparency, inclusivity, and resilience. It guides comprehensive reforms in public financial management and service delivery. We have initiated independent audits, strengthened procurement oversights, and recommitted ourselves to the fiscal reforms outlined in the 2018 Revitalized Peace Agreement. We are determined to foster a culture of integrity, accountability, and good governance. Determined to shift from oil dependency to a green, sustainable economy, South Sudan is investing in the future of its land and people. The Agriculture SME Grant Initiative 2025 now empowers farmers, agro-processors with vital tools, training, and market access. Our investment in irrigation, seed distribution, and post-harvest technologies are boosting productivity and strengthening food security. We have successfully established effective governance structures both at the national and local level, including establishment of relevant commissions such as the Constitutional Review Commission, the Judicial Review Commission, among others. The constitutional making process is in progress. Civic education and voter rights training have commenced and are progressing well. The National Bureau of Statistics will advise on options available for elections. The Political Parties Council has been established and has started registering political parties intended to contest in elections. Therefore, with these positive developments, the government of the Republic of South Sudan appeals for the removal of targeted individual sanctions and the arms embargo on South Sudan. Elections. According to the peace agreement, the transitional period must end with the conduct of general elections currently scheduled for December 2026. This will enable the people of South Sudan to democratically elect their leaders for the first time in the history of this young nation. His Excellency President Salva Kiir has reaffirmed the government's determination to deliver credible, inclusive, and peaceful elections. The establishment of electoral institutions, namely the National Election Commission, the Political Parties Council for registration of political parties, and voters' right education have been established. The Bureau of Statistics has been restructured to deal with the issues of census. The restructured Permanent Constitution Review Commission has been actively working to ensure that the country has a new permanent constitution by the time of the general election in December 2026. Civil society groups are being facilitated and have started civic education of the general public, especially among women and the youth. South Sudan is committed to promoting and protecting human rights. We are strengthening national institutions, promoting accountability, empowering women and youth. We have taken steps to integrate gender equality into our governance and development agenda, not forgetting the people with disability. Civil society is actively engaged in the promotion of human rights and civic education. We believe constructive engagement and dialogue are the best path for building resilient and just institutions. Some regional concerns. Madam President, South Sudan and Sudan share deep historical and economic ties, as well as the longest border in the region. For instance, South Sudan's oil is at the moment being transported through Sudan. Developments in Sudan directly affects development in South Sudan. Since the outbreak of conflict in Sudan in 2023, South Sudan has opened its doors for Sudanese refugees and returnees from Sudan. In partnership with the international aid agencies, we are providing humanitarian assistance, and we have also gone further and given plots of land for refugees to cultivate and produce their own food, thus integrating them into our local communities. However, there are still outstanding issues with respect to the Comprehensive Peace Agreement 2005. Among these are issues of border demarcation and final status of Abyei, including the status of the Ngok Dinka of Abyei, which remains unresolved. We are committed to working with the government of Sudan to amicably resolve these outstanding issues. Furthermore, the current composition of the Security Council no longer, in our view, adequately reflects the realities of today. And for this reason, South Sudan supports the call for the expansion of the permanent membership to include African representation. Furthermore, we advocate for the removal of sanctions and arms embargo on South Sudan and other sisterly countries. Madam President, at independent South Sudan inherited a rudimentary state structures, hardly any infrastructures. The government is now working simultaneously on nation building, state building, provision of services including healthcare, education, capacity building, poverty reduction, and food security.
From the heart of South Sudan's rich soil comes a name of pride, Prestige Millers Limited, a beacon of progress, offering quality and affordable products, restoring food dignity, one family at a time. Now say hello to Haiba fortified maize flour, wheat flour, and sorghum flour. The flour of strength, honor, and presence, and rich with essential vitamins and minerals. Haiba gives every meal the power to fuel energy, health, and growth. Whether it's a cedar, kisra, or porridge, Haiba guarantees the same delicious taste and unmatched quality every single time. Available in every size you need. 1 kg, 2 kg, 5 kg, 10 kg, 25 kg, and 50 kg. 100% locally milled. With Haiba, we don't just eat, we rise together as a nation. For details, call the hotline support service +211 924 922 323 or email sales@prestigemillersltd.com. Prestige Millers Limited. Together, we rise.
Looking for the perfect radio partner? iRadio is your answer. Why choose iRadio? Here are the 5 compiling reasons.
Trust and reach. iRadio stands as the most trusted and popular radio station in South Sudan. Backed by recent surveys with a loyal listener base, your message will reach a wide audience effectively.
Extensive network. iRadio is not just a radio station. It's a network of interconnected stations. When you partner with iRadio, we'll broadcast your program across multiple locations such as Wow, Awil, Kwajob, Yambio, Bor, Rang, Malakal, and Baliad, ensuring maximum coverage and impact.
Regional presence. iRadio footprint extends to the states of Western and Northern Bahar Ghazal, Western and Central Equatoria, Jonglei, Upper Nile, and